What's up, guys? Welcome to another Rise of Kingdoms video, the Commander Survey. In this survey, I will go over each commander one by one. I will tell you everything you need to know about the commander, overall score, strength and weaknesses, minimal requirements to be usable, talent tree, best possible commander pairing, and my final thought on the commander. So for this video, we will be featuring Genghis Khan. This is my first ever Cavalry commander video. So why do I choose Genghis Khan instead of any other more recent Cavalry commanders? Well, I want to pick Genghis Khan as the first Cavalry commander to go over today because I think there are a lot of misinformation out there about him. I think this video will be very, very beneficial for free-to-play or low-standard players. So let's start right into the video. So let's start with his overall score. Oops, where is it? Okay, so for his overall score, we have him at attack range from 9.75 to 11, defense 0, and support 0. If you want to know how I come up with this score, you can watch my Cavalry Commander breakdown video where I break down his skill and assign him the overall score. The link for that video will be in the description box. So let's go into what are Genghis Khan's strengths and weaknesses. For his strength, he is a commander with a very high range requirement reduction, and his DPS when he's above 70% health is pretty high. So if he is a primary commander, instead of requiring 1000 rage to cast an active skill, you only need 950. So 50 rage requirement reduction there. His second skill also gives you 100 rage requirement reduction. So in total, he if he is a primary commander, he only needs 850 rage to cast his active skill. So he can cast his active skill very frequently, a lot more frequent than comparing to other commander. Let's see. His second skill, when his health is above 70%, he has his damage increased by 30%. That means 30% increase in skill damages, 30% increase in normal attack damage, and 30% increase in counter attack damage. So to utilize him, it's best to pair him with some another commander who rely a lot on how often the active skill are casted. For example, one of the very good example is we have is Guan Yu. Guan Yu is a commander that depend a lot on how often his active skill are casted. So let's say if there is a cavalry version of Guan Yu, you should definitely pair that commander with Genghis Khan. So for example, why I'm saying Guan Yu is very dependent on how often his active skill are casted, because he provides a 3-second silence. So instead of you casting his active skill once every 10 seconds, now you're casting his active skill once every 8 seconds, and now you have a 3-second silence. So in 8 seconds, that interval of how often the target got silent is much shorter time. So the target gets silent a lot more often. Very, very beneficial if you have something like Guan Yu to pair with Genghis Khan. His force skill also got triggered depend on how often the first active skill is casted. So instead of his force skill got triggered every 10 seconds, now his force skill got triggered every 8 seconds. It's a big, huge thing. It's similar to a 20% damage, skill damage increase, pretty much. So if there is a cavalry commander that's similar to Guan Yu, that very dependent on how often their active skill are casted, you should definitely pairing that commander with Genghis Khan. Okay. Strength. Okay, for his weaknesses, you can clearly see that from the stats that he has. He has 0 defense and 0 support. So he has absolutely no defense and no damage reduction whatsoever. A complete glass cannon, very squishy and can get away, very squishy and cannot get away if he gets swarmed because of his march speed reduction when he is attacked. So his second skill right here, you got 10% march speed reduction if you got attacked or you attacking someone. So if you get swarmed by a group of players, it's pretty much impossible for you to get away. So if you look at his third skill is saying that it only works when he is above 70% health. And his fourth skill only work when he is below 50% health. So from that 70% to 50% health, his DPS is complete garbage. Like he doesn't get the bonus from neither of his third skill or his fourth skill. Another reason why you should try to maintain and only fight with him when he is above 70% health. I know it could be very, very, very hard for people to refresh their market when it comes to like fighting on the open field, because when you're in the heat of the battle, you just don't think, you just keep fighting, right? But if you want to fight for a long period of time, and if you want to be able to deal a lot of damage, to be able to inflict a lot of severe wounded to the target, it's best for you to try to refresh his march when he is below 70%. So as soon as he go to yellow HP, you want to refresh him, because you don't want to fight with him when he is from 70% to 50%. You will get a very bad trade-off if you use him from 70% to 50% HP. Another of his weaknesses is that he got targeted a lot on the open field. So, and because of his very low defense, you will get your hospital filled up very quickly. Like because of his lack of defense, he get a lot of severe wounded if he get attacked. That's the problem. Like with a march with a higher defense stats, you don't get that many severe wounded. But with a march that have very, very low defense, oh man, the amount of severe wounded you get will be very, very high. Next, let's go to his minimal requirements. So to make him to the state that he is usable, his minimal requirement is 5151. You want to get his third skill to level 5, because you want to get that 30% damage bonus, because that when he best and so what decides that he meets the minimal requirement? He meets the minimal requirement when he performs better than any max epic commanders. So at 5151, he gets that 30% damage increase when he's above 70% health. You want that 30% damage increase. You can use him to fight and refresh his market before he go below 70% to maximize that skill. So commander pairing. So for commander pairing, there are two best pairing for him right now. It's Khan and Takeda. A lot of people think Takeda doesn't work well with Khan because Takeda doesn't do any skill damage, but they are wrong. I would tell you that Khan has the highest DPS when he is above 70% health. When you pair Takeda with Khan, Takeda is a very, very tanky cavalry commander. He also has a healing, so a lot of defense, a lot of defense here. Cavalry defense bonus 40%, healing factor 600. He can help keeping the Genghis Khan's march at above 70% health much longer. That's where you can maintain that highest possible DPS on the open field. That is the reason why Takeda is one of the very good pairing for Genghis Khan. Another obvious one choice is Khan and Saladin. A very good defense from Saladin. Saladin, a 20% defense bonus, 20% attack bonus, and 30% skill damage reduction, 20% counter damage taken reduction. Like for someone like Genghis Khan who have absolutely zero defense, you need another commander there to make up for his defense. You don't want to go all DPS with Genghis Khan, like especially Khan. Like you'll get targeted a lot on the open field. You're not gonna be able to kill anybody. You're gonna be killed before you be able to kill someone. Let's see. Okay, and if you want to use Genghis Khan with Saladin, I strongly recommend you that you use a Saladin as a primary and put Genghis Khan as a secondary on the open field. The reason is because Genghis Khan is like a chick magnet on the open field. He get targeted a lot. Like I've used him a lot in last KVK, and it was never fun. It was a never fun experience to bring him out on the open field. Like if you use him as a primary, you just asking people, like it's like asking people to attack you. So try to avoid using him as primary if you can on the open field, unless you have no other option. Another decent pairing is Genghis Khan and Belisarius. Like why I want to pair him with an epic commander? You have that 30% increase in 30% increase in defense, which very much needed for Genghis Khan. As I said before, he has no defense. He needs that defense. Another thing is that with Belisarius debuff, he can cast his debuff a lot more often. As I say, Khan only needs 850 rage for him to cast his active skill. So instead of requiring 10 or 11 seconds for Belisarius to cast his debuff, now it only require him 8 or maybe 9 seconds. So very, very beneficial, can provide a great support. And Belisarius also provide a great escape mechanism. If you know that Genghis Khan cannot if he got attacked by a march, his march speed got reduced by 10%. But by using Belisarius, you might be able to escape away a lot easier because of his expertise. What is it? Oh, his third skill. Yeah, expertise. So increase march speed by 50% for 10 seconds after leaving the battle. So you might be able to escape if you like go into a resource node or something. So that's an escape mechanism you can use for Genghis Khan. Other okay pairing, a very squishy pairing is that you can use Genghis Khan and Cao Cao, or Genghis Khan and Minamoto. So as other option, but I do not recommend them because on open field you need low defense. You need to have defense. Okay, let's go to Genghis Khan talent tree. So for his talent tree, as I mentioned earlier, Khan doesn't have any defense. So for his talent tree, you want to focus on to like getting as much defense stat boost as possible. He also a very fast casting active skill commander as well. So you also want to focus on getting as much rage as possible so he can cast his active skill even faster. And if you know His expertise also depends on how often his active skill is casted. So the more frequently his active skill is casted, the more chance that his expertise will get triggered. So that's another thing you need to consider. So you want to get something with like that give you a lot more rage. So this right here, Burning Blood gives you a 9 additional rage. What is it? It does. So increase active skill for the secondary commander. It's okay. Rejuvenate, very good rage engine there. Definitely must get skill. Floral nature, another very decent skill as well. Gives you a lot more rage. So Khan can activate his active skill more frequently, and his expertise can trigger more frequently as well. That's the key. But you definitely want to spend a lot. You definitely want to get like focus on the node that give you like defense stat boost. For example, like this one, Heraldic Shield. You get a reduced skill damage taken by 6% on his cavalry talent tree. You want to get that Blazon Shield, another shield that reduce skill damage taken by 12%. Very, very good on Genghis Khan, a squishy commander. You need all the skill damage reduction, all the attack or normal attack damage reduction. So he doesn't take that many damage. So you want it instead of the other skill because the other skill, the disarm, it require you to like constantly attack someone to get a chance to have that to have a chance to reduce one single target attack by a certain percent. In my opinion, it's not a very good skill. I would rather prefer to have that 12% skill damage reduction at all time instead of have a chance of getting reduce a single target march like 20% attack. It's definitely not worth it in my opinion. Having a 12% skill damage reduction at all time is definitely much more benefit. What else is there? So if you focus on the right side, you also get the health cavalry increased by 5% as well, 3%. Increase normal attack damage by 1.5%. Again, you want to get that Undying Fury because you want more rage. So Khan can cast his active skill more frequently. His expertise got triggered more frequently. I'm not putting any skill point in this skill right here. Cavalry unit led by this commander deal additional 3% damage to archer units. I'm not putting any skill on that node, not because on the so this is more like an open field talent tree. So on the open field, most of the time you don't see a lot of like marches using archer. So most of the time you go see cavalry marches, infantry marches. So this skill right here, most of the time is not being used. So I would rather, instead of putting 3 points in this skill right here, to give me additional like 9% damage on archer unit only, I would rather to give my Genghis Khan a little more defense. So I go to hit versatility talent tree, and I put 3 point in here. So 2 point in here give him 1% more health, which can help a lot. Another point in here to get 0.5% in attack, which is always there. It can work when he attack like an infantry march or when he attack a cavalry march. This skill here definitely not worth it in my opinion, even though like the bonus is really good when you attack an archer march, but it's not very practical in my opinion. It's not very practical because not many people using archer. So I think that's about it. Yes, so this is the talent trees that I am using. I focus on like getting as much rage as possible to help him cast his active skill more frequently. I also want to focus a little bit more on getting him a little bit more defense because that's what he needs. He doesn't have any defense from his skills. I think that's about it for his talent tree. So what else I can do? let's see what are my final thoughts on Genghis Khan. Okay, so in my opinion, Khan is a very low return on value commander, or should I say a very bad investment. Unless you have a lot of golden sculpture and you are a cavalry focused player, I do not recommend you getting him. Like even for like a cavalry focused player, I would recommend you to save your golden sculptures and get Saladin, Takeda, or Attila first. Khan would be somewhere in the at the bottom of the queue before you who you want to invest on. Um, like you can invest universal sculpture in him or like putting jump in him if you one of the rally leaders in KVK season 1 or in season 2. But if you're not one of them, I don't invest in him. You're not gonna be able to use him for a very long time. I mean, like he's not gonna be useful for a very long time, unless I say if you are like a cavalry focused player, you want to have 5 cavalry marches, and yeah, you need to get him. But if you're not one of those, then yeah, don't get him. There are better option. There are much better option. Uh, Genghis Khan is a very squishy commander. Like in mass PvP, he will fill up your hospital so fast that you wouldn't be able to fight for very long. I actually use him quite a lot in my last KVK. Uh, I was able to use 5 marches in Ruin and Altar of Darkness. The game, like the KVK didn't update back then that to only allow 1 marches. So I was able to use 5 marches. So I was using 4 infantry marches and 1 cavalry marches using Genghis Khan and Takeda. Even with Takeda, a very defensive commander, I still get a lot of severe wounded from cavalry unit. Most of the time when I check my hospital, even though I'm using 4 infantry marches and 1 cavalry marches, most of the time, 60% of my hospital are just cavalry units. So at some point, I had to stop. I like, okay, this is not working out. Like I can keep on healing cavalry units. So at some point, I had to either drop to like 4 marches or 3 marches inside the Altar of Darkness or Ancient Ruin, because that is where I feel like I'm most effective using all of my marches. Like I can just bring like a very squishy march inside the ruin and then had to spend a lot of speed up on healing. Uh, I can't afford that many speed up. Uh, can perform best when he's above 70% health, as I told you guys. But in mass PvP, like for him to maintain that 70% health is very difficult. He also an easy target in mass PvP, so it's even harder for him to maintain that 70% or higher HP. So that's something for you to keep in mind. Um, Many people think Genghis Khan is a very good investment, but I do not think he is. Takeda, Saladin, or Attila are much better choice right now. If you're not a cavalry focused player, do not invest in him again. Um, if you are if you are a cavalry focused player, try to get Saladin, Takeda, and Attila first before you even consider or think of getting Genghis Khan. So you might ask me why I invested in Khan, and if I know he's a bad investment, like why did I invested in him? Well, I did not know he would turn out to be so bad when I get him. Like it was all the hype back then, and now I had to live with my mistake. Like if there is an item to return all of the sculptures that I use on him, I would definitely use it without a second thought. Uh, and probably can use the golden sculpture on my Saladin right now, or maybe on another infantry commander. I I started the game much earlier when there was not many information about the commander out there. But now you have the benefit of learning from all of the pioneer players. Like we made a lot of mistakes when we started the game, and now we passing on the knowledge on to you guys. So you guys don't fuck shit up like us. Like we messed up, but you guys need to learn from our mistake. And you need to decide. Like I am giving you the information right now that like I'm not someone who who don't have a Genghis Khan, never used Genghis Khan before, and tell you not to get him. Like, I have him, and I actually use him quite a lot. And I can tell you guys that he filled up my hospital very fast. But like, I give you the information, and you had to make you had to make you had to make the right choice. Like, either you want to invest in him or not. Like, I can't make the choice for you. I give you the information, and you can decide. Um, anyway, this is the end for my first Cavalry Commander video. I hope it helps some of you guys on to, like, if you still somewhere in between deciding if you want to get Genghis Khan or waiting for Takeda, or you want to invest in Saladin. I really hope it gives you a better, a different look from a different look and a little bit more information about him. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope everybody has a wonderful day.